40k lore. What is a space marine? And what does it truly mean to be one? I was trying to be shithead, but that's genuinely nice. Yeah, it's just good manners, bro. It's just good manners. Not everyone does, sadly. You not stupid? I am, though. I consider myself to be stupid, and that's a good thing, because too much intelligence is a scary thing. As I noticed as a child. Because I saw people ignoring basic safety rules and was like, huh, they could die at any time. Morons. 25 IQ and proud. Bro, if I'm 25 IQ, the people I was around were like 5. Oh, that's not a good thing. No, you cute. I'm cute because I'm dumb. We like him a little retarded. Oh, man. Anyway, let's get right into this. Hold on. Yes, you do understand correctly. Every thread that connects people, every life, their value is beyond measure. There is no greater reward than guiding others to salvation, when all that surrounds us is darkness. Damn, that goes hard! It's the reason why depression scales equally with intelligence. Yeah, also the more intelligence you have, usually on a basic metric, means that you feel less, because the intelligence prevents you from feeling too much, which is why I involve myself through feelings a lot, even though a lot of times I don't understand them, because they are radically unlogical. They are radically not logical, right? Very special. Bro has special riz. I have arrived. Hell yeah. I got censored again. God damn. Oh yeah, we got multiple things I wanted to look before we start. God damn it. Damn you, YouTube overlords. Hold on. Before we see yours, I wanted to see her. This match is held for review. Lewd got banned by YouTube? Oh, so you like guys with fire because you hot? Got fucked? Oh, so you like guys with because you hot? It got fucked 3 times! Ah! Ain't that a planet that only have a woman army because they was sickness that made all males sick? I could be wrong. It'd been so long since I read a good 40k book. Holy, that's so stupid. That's so stupid. YouTube, what the fuck? Also, now the Pontius. Whatever noticed that the paper is titled Fake News? It's a joke lost to the masses. Yeah, fuck off, life. I don't need you. I see. Hold on, what? Oh! Oh! Fake news! Ah, I see. Insane. Ender.
Danny, it is Christmas period. Can I at least get some freedom from the basement and enjoy life in the sun like normal people for a few days?
Sure, Pio, you can leave.
Freedom!
To get me a soda. Then we have a very important video to make.
I would have been surprised.
That's right.
Otherwise.
To inaugurate our new series, called 40k Lore for Newbies, we will cover what is probably the most important topic in the setting of 40k, that being the Adeptus Astartes, also known as Space Marines. Thank you, Pio. Now we can start.
Lewd is the worst possible thing you can say on YouTube, apparently! But that's bad coming from you, Ender. Please. I know you like to stay in the closet, but you don't have to advertise it. The cola is a Nuka Cola. Oh, damn. Do you like Fallout as well? Another little nudge. Where did that come from? Oh, you know where. Come on. Do I really have to out you in front of everyone again? Oh, that's nice. I did play New Vegas once. I played it without mods that, you know, better the coding in the game. And it only crashed like 20 times throughout the playthrough. So that's nice. I'm perfectly straight. Are you drunk? Is your vision blurring? Is that why instead of curved, it's straight? Being drunk makes you straight because the blurry vision straightens the lines. Father has the Legion. Of course, Pontius likes it. Fair enough. Uranium Fever immediately started playing in my head at the Nuka-Cola.
Start the video properly.
Yeah.
While the enemies of the Emperor still draw breath, there can be no peace. Now, I'm aware this channel doesn't really deal with the basics. Our first lore video was on one of the most obscure wars the Imperium ever fought, after all, and it was something we covered only because we needed it to solve the mystery of the missing Primarchs.
Nobody answered my question about where the Cardinal North is in space, and that video is 8 months old.
But today, we decided to start this new series with the most basic.
Who the fuck is the Emperor? The Emperor of Mankind has unified mankind through a conquest. I wanted to say more, but yeah. He has created the Space Marine chapters and their Primarchs. You know, that's how the Space Marines are made, through the Primarch's gene seed. And does he do the magic stuff? He is very much in tune with the warp. Yes. I don't know the lore of Helldiver. Okay, he's just rage baiting at this point. Go suck a dick. That's what you like to do anyway. But it has the lead. Hold on. You're about as straight as a choking vines wrapped around a weeping willow.
of lore you can find, the real identity and nature of Space Marines. But if you have watched our other videos, you know that we will start from the surface and go deeper as we go on. To the point that we will probably reveal new information even to people that are veterans of 40k. So, I will say it is time to start. But keep in mind that I decided to divide this video and explanation in 3 different topics. Firstly, we will cover the origins and creation of the Astartes as a military force. Then we will go on the more scientific parts, explaining exactly what makes them transhuman super soldiers, covering both Firstborn and Primaris. And lastly, we will cover what it truly means to be a Space Marine, which is the most interesting part, if you ask me.
Seeing your PowerPoints, I thought waifus were the most interesting part of 40k for me.
Who told you could speak? Paradoxically, however, to explain the origins of the Astartes, we must go all the way back to the Age of Strife, the Unification Wars, and cover the history of their precursors, the Thunder Warriors. Obviously, we won't go to...
Stop acting. Stop acting, Ender, stop acting. Come on, we already know. You don't have to act here. Bro, trying too hard. Me and Monkey, the same brain cell.
Tale about the Age of Strife and the Unification Wars. But we will explain them in detail enough so that you can understand in what context the Space Marines came into existence. The Age of Strife was a period following the end of the Dark Age of Technology, which has a very misleading name, as it was more of a golden age of technology, where humanity was at the peak of their technological advancement, and was such a powerful force in the galaxy to pretty much go unchallenged by all other alien races that were found during the expansion in space of the human race. The Dark Age of Technology almost ended with the Cybernetic Revolt, a war sparked by the rebellion of the Men of Iron, the so-called cybernetical constructs and weapons driven by AI, built during the Dark Age of Technology. For comparison, imagine
What the fuck is this? Is this just a warp shield? This doesn't look like just that. This looks like some reality bending bullshit. What is this? This is no mere simple shield, is it? What the hell?
Skynet. But if Skynet had weapons capable of shooting black holes...
Void shields are just reality bending stuff, lol. They are more teleporters than anything. Aha! They teleport projectiles into the warp. I see. Void shields, not warp shields. I apologize for my not having names in my mind. But are these just simple void shields that we use in the 34th millennia? 41st? Like also this looks a little fucked up. But is this just because this depicts the dark age of stuff? Who knows? We don't know how advanced the technology of the cybernetic revolt was, because this looks more than just, you know, whatever. Probably a bit more advanced. This is also very interesting. And everyone and their mother is calling you gay. Kind of underselling it.
And technology so advanced to be able to lift continents off from planets and shoot them back as artificial meteors. The war was very violent, and humanity had to ally with several alien races to fight against their own war constructs. But in the end, after what we can imagine as centuries of war, the machines were defeated, and humanity and organic life in general emerged victorious. But the war pretty much ravaged the human federation of the dark age of technology, that lost a giant amount of knowledge and was pushed back in technological level by millennia. They couldn't use AIs, and their most powerful weapons were now gone. Add to this that in this period, the Psykers had started emerging on human planets, and at this point in history, humanity didn't know how much of a danger Psykers were. This was an age of curiosity and pursuit of knowledge, so humans started studying them, unaware that they could be possessed and cause demon incursions on planets. All the while, giant warp storms erupted around the galaxy and made warp travel in many parts of the Milky Way galaxy completely impossible. And to add insult to injury, the aliens, by that point allies of humanity, seeing the weak state in which the Human Federation was after all the catastrophes that were happening around them, decided that it was the best time to strike and either enslave humanity or wipe it out completely if possible. These are the events that led to the beginning of the Age of Strife, also known as the Long Night.
And people still think humans are the bad guys.
Yeah. Why aren't we allied to other alien races? We tried. But they tried to enslave us instead. When we were at top, we showed mercy. When we fell, they pushed us down further. Now why do we hate those Xeno scum exactly?
Guys of 40k.
The Age of Strife itself began in M25. Humanity became isolated in pockets, stranded far away from each other, and with no way of communicating or even reaching one another.
No. Oh, hold on. No, Elden Ring, on the other hand, is different. They were enslaving each other all this time already, and when the Golden Age in Elden Ring started, the Golden Order, they enslaved anything that was not accepted by the Golden Order, or massacred it. That's how the Fire Giants were massacred, and only a single one was left alone to guard the fireplace, which is the only danger to the Earth Tree, which is for the Golden Order. I don't want to get too deep into the lore of a completely different universe, but fuck you for that one, Ender. Suck off the greater will or die. Exactly. We also did make the death robot, to be fair. Why aren't we allied to more aliens? We tried that, and those that didn't choose to genocide us in our weakened state were the exception and not the rule. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know much about the lore. Again, we are now learning about it, but is that why the feline species may be, like, still allied with us? Or is it because they look very human even though they're, you know, feline? I'm so distracted because someone I know who has been in free relationships in the past 2 months is together with someone else. They just met. That seems like someone who makes perfect. Oh, the felines are human mutants? I didn't know that. I thought they were also a Xenos alien species. Ah, the felines are... Okay. Alright, no, alright. Fair. I got educated right there, see?
You have to keep in mind that even at their zenith, not all planets or systems were self-sufficient. This means that over time, planets started running out of supplies. They started losing their technologies and regressing into more tribalistic states. The few planets and systems spared from this fate were the ones that had become fully self-sufficient before being separated. The main example of this was the Ultramar system, that under the guide of the Gilliman bloodline was kept as one of the few still functioning coalition of planets under human rule of the galaxy. And just little trivia, this line will continue all the way down to Connor Gilliman, adoptive father of Primarch Robute Gilliman, that is still the de facto ruler of Ultramar. Earth, also known in 40k as Terra, was among the planets that wasn't self-sufficient when the Age of Strife started. The planet started regressing rapidly into a tribalistic Mad Max-like state. The solar system was surrounded by warp storms, leaving the planet isolated for thousands of years. By the 28th millennium, almost all traces of civilization on Earth were gone. The planet had been split under the control of factions known as techno-barbarians. But don't be misled by the name. They were factions controlled by powerful warlords, with territories spanning entire continents. Their soldiers used Dark Age of technology weapons. The wars they fought with each other for the scraps of the ancient culture of humanity were apocalyptic in scale. To the point that in 40k, many of the weapons they used are still kept locked down in the vaults of the Imperial Palace, considered too dangerous to be used or replicated. It is at this time, at the end of the Age of Strife in M30, that the Emperor of Mankind would appear, and with him will be his first genetically modified super soldiers, the Thunder Warriors, also known as the Thunder Legion. The Thunder Warriors were the first experiment of the Emperor into creating gene-enhanced soldiers to fight under his command to reunify Terra, and then conquer the galaxy at large. These first transhuman super soldiers were created at the beginning of the unification wars of Terra. They were large. In fact, they were larger than most space marines. They wielded prototype lasguns and bolt rifles, and were armored in the so-called MK1 Thunder Pattern power armors. They were just a basic mean of powered armor, and not an enclosed life support system, meant only for protection from damage, and not to function in perilous conditions. But their flaws started showing almost immediately. The gene enhancing practiced on them was not efficient nor stable. It made them stronger, even than space marines, but it didn't prolong their lives extensively. In fact, giving them just a few more decades than a normal human. But even worse was the fact that by being created by such savage members of the human race, and the gene enhancing not being perfected, all of them became over time more and more sadistic, to the limit of being psychopaths. They were born on a planet...
So they were also very much, weak to the warp. Well, I guess at this time, it wasn't there yet. Crazy, yeah. So that's why they needed to be taken care of pretty quick too. Huh. I mean, one of the reasons probably. There's probably more, but... Keeps breaking up with people and hurting people I care about, but... What? Wait, what the fuck? What lore is going on in the chat? And every time he gets in a relationship, he says he'll be the most loyal person ever, but yet he was apparently kind of cheating on the last 4 exes. He even kind of asked me out once. Sorry, I'm venting. No, that's fair. Are you even friends with such a weirdo under? Yeah, that is a question. Why are you even friends? Fucking dementia. Don't think Moomy minds. I vent here too sometimes. Yeah, I don't mind. It's fair. It's fine. Hey, you don't vent. You share your medical report. Because other than the fact that he is extremely mature with relationships, he's an okay person. That's not an okay person. I am of the same opinion, but I don't want to impose.
Where war was commonplace when they were human, and in wars they took part over and over when they were enhanced into being Thunder Warriors. This was clearly visible to the Emperor at the Battle of Gaduere, where 50,000 Frank light militia faced 5,000 Thunder Warriors armed with bolters and chainswords. The battle was pretty much closed in the opening volley. The militia, formed mostly by enraged and rebellious civilians, had underestimated the power of the Thunder Legion. And when their first lines were blasted apart by bolter fire, the battle was already over. They started running and screaming.
Damn. Also, what is the difference between the bolters that the Space Marines are using today and the bolters that they used that the Thunder Warriors used? Are the ones today far superior, or are they weaker, or is there not much difference at all? What is the... A lot better engineered, technically. So they're just more reliable, but the power output is about the same? Is that about it? Does that sum it up? Because I am also very interested in, like, the scaling side of things. I like to keep in mind how strong something is. Pretty much, there is various patterns of bolters anyway. Yeah, no, that's fair. I saw the lasgun stuff that you made in the what is the heart of humanity, right? I saw there where you talked about the different lasguns, and I imagine the same is true for bolters. Skipped a lot of stream. Was there a Space Marine video? Yes.
Screaming in terror as they tried to flee. It is then that the Thunder Warriors charged. They started killing and butchering everyone in their path. Those that tried to surrender or begged for mercy were also slaughtered. In less than an hour, of the 50,000 strong militia, only a few survivors were left, missed by the Thunder Legion more by chance than spared.
When I woke, surprised I'd still lived. It was dark.
Damn.
In the distance, I heard the victory chants of the Thunder Warriors drifting across the fields, along with the smoke of victory pyres. Havelek's army had been destroyed. Not routed, not put to flight. Destroyed.
Damn!
In less than an hour, 50,000 men and women had been killed. I never learned of any other survivors. Weak, and laying in a field of human parts, I began to weep once more.
The Emperor saw that the Thunder Warriors were unfit for his dream to conquer the galaxy at large. Too unstable, too unpredictable, with a very short lifespan, a flawed creation. And as the Remembrancer Dolvar put it,
Alas for them, the warriors of Caged Thunder and with whom lightning smote. They've burned the brightest in glory, but burned brief.
The Emperor was aware that a more stable and advanced permanent force was needed. So, even while the Thunder Warriors waged war in his name, he had gathered with him a team of Savant and Jinvrites, some willing, some captives taken from his foes, and put them to work in the dungeons of his Terran fortress. In those vast underground laboratories, experiments were conducted on individuals chosen directly from the Emperor himself. It is here that the first Primarchs will be created, and from their genome, their own sons will be created, the Astartes, the first Space Marines. Into them went all the secret history and lore of the Age of Strife, and the hard wisdoms gained through the successes and failures of the Thunder Warriors, who were their prototype, and the Emperor's own inimitable genius. These individuals were subjected to surgical, genetic, and psychological modification. With rigorous training and mental conditioning, they became not only immensely strong and tough, but iron-willed and disciplined. An unstoppable force whose loyalty to the Emperor was unflinching. The Thunder Warriors will fight the wars of the Emperor while he created the Astartes and his own personal warriors in the Custodians. They were not aware that they were just a tool for the Emperor, to be used and discarded when their duty was done. testimony of the time speaks of the Emperor using the most blazing battle tactics to trim down the number of Thunder Warriors battle after battle, until their
Damn.
final battle on Mount Ararat. The legends speaking of a final charge of the Thunder Warriors against the enemies of the Emperor to the fortress on the mountain. And after a violent battle, the last Thunder
Hold on.
Warrior
I do wonder how some people can move on so fast after a breakup. Well, based on what kind of person you're talking about, or Ender talked about, some people don't see relationships as relationships, and more as a means to an end. I've asked, and he says, I don't like being lonely. Oh yeah, that explains it. A means to an end. Can be a very selfish thing to do sometimes. Not to say that all relationships are like that, but some people do. And those people are usually called assholes. You know. That doesn't mean you need to be in a relationship right after you break up with your last one. True. True. After he broke up with his most recent ex, the ex has been really suicidal. Ooh, damn, okay. And the one before that was also very suicidal after it broke up. That is a not so good person, huh? The clip will be strange true. I like how chat is a coffee shop gossip table. Didn't mean anything, dog. I was joking. Yeah. You don't have to stop, Ender. Oh my god, we're discussing relationship in lore video. The clip will be strange. Been trying to help, but yeah, some people you can show them. You can help them as much as you can, but doesn't listen to me telling to take a break. Yeah.
reached the peak of the fortress, planting the banner of the Emperor on it, before succumbing to his injuries, and with him, the Thunder Warriors were extinct. But the warrior reached Emperor to the fortress on the mountain, and after a violent battle, the last Thunder Warrior reached the peak of the fortress, planting the banner of the Emperor on it, before succumbing to his injuries, and with him, the Thunder Warriors were extinct. But the truth is completely different than the legend built up around it. In fact, there were witnesses to the last charge of the Thunder Warriors that narrate a completely different tale.
Branded all as one. Tales and theories beyond count surround the Thunder Warriors and their sudden disappearance from the Imperium's history, most being fabrications and sophistry of the worst kind, though a few warrant further regard. One such tale in particular is of note, a tale told among the nomadic tribes that inhabit the wastelands around Mount Ararat, and speaks not only of the Thunder Warriors but also of an army, clad all in grey, dark as the clouds of a storm, and branded all as one. These warriors, so say the hill nomads, awaited the return of the few surviving Thunder Warriors, exhausted by their victory, and rather than giving salute to their valor, cut them down in a thunderous volley of bolted plasma. This tale is far different from the heroic tale told by remembrances to mark the end of the Wars of Unity, but in keeping with the brutal necessities of the Emperor's far-reaching plans. It is possible that the warriors branded all as one could be the First Legion, who all bore the sigil of their numeration bold upon their plate, for battles of that legion were oft removed from Imperial record, the details expunged and forgotten. Actual proof, however, does not exist, not even in the archives of the Imperial Palace. Yet, several anecdotes from the latter years of the Great Crusade do seem to support the theory, all related to a near-obsessive preoccupation with the hunting down and destruction of those few renegade Thunder Warriors that survived and fled terror, over and above the standing orders of the Imperial Court to suppress all such renegades. On at least 3 occasions, fleets of the First Legions have altered course in order to engage and destroy Thunder Warrior survivors, often making wide detours based on simple rumors of such activity. Such an obsession is notable for an otherwise stoic legion, and will seem to hint at a more personal interest in the resolution of any encounter with surviving Thunder Warriors, perhaps even a sense of shame in having allowed any to escape some previous engagement. Given the renowned secrecy of the First Legion and the frequency with which their campaigns and deeds are obfuscated by Imperial decree, it is unlikely that the truth of this matter will ever be known.
The Thunder Warriors were called to make space for the Legiones Astartes, the Space Marines, the true perfected weapon the Emperor created to conquer the galaxy. and with them their Primarchs, their genetically engineered forefathers, born from the genius of the Emperor, that used his own DNA as a template to create genetical sons to lead the legions, and used them as a basic template to create the Marines. But this wouldn't be the end of the Thunder Warriors, as pockets of them would be encountered in the decades after and would fight against the Legiones Astartes of the War Hounds as the Great Crusade was declared, in the Cerberus insurrection, where they will show their physical superiority, managing to slay up to 5 Marines each before they will be defeated in battle. I also know that there is Erda and the whole story of Amara Astarte. Erda is not important for my explanation, and Amara Astarte contribution to the project of Primarchs and Astartes is greatly exaggerated, so no need to mention it too much. Now, we can finally move to the historical creation and use of the Space Marines. The Space Marines, or Legiones Astartes as they will become renowned, will be the choice of the Emperor to expand his domain across the stars. They will be organized in 20 separated military forces known as the Space Marine Legions, each one created from the genetic material of a Primarch. They were genetically modified super soldiers, like the Thunder Warriors, but more refined, even if slightly smaller and a bit weaker if compared to the legendary warriors of the Unification Wars. These warriors were to be commanded by their own Primarchs, but this became impossible when before the Great Crusade to expand the supremacy of humanity into the galaxy was declared, a warp portal opened in the laboratory of the Emperor where the gestation pods of the Primarchs were located, teleporting them into the warp by the will of the 4 gods of chaos that wanted to disrupt the plans of the Emperor of mankind of conquering the stars. And when they re-entered real space, they became scattered at random across the galaxy, leaving the legions without their designated commanders and the Legiones Astartes without their gene fathers.
What's a chaos god? Who taught Bobby about the vile trepidations of the arch enemy?
The only way to find them was departing Terra and starting to conquer the galaxy, in the hope of finding all of the missing Primarchs along the way. This will mean that the legions will start developing their own traditions and doctrines, even if their connection with their Primarchs always stayed visible, as the legionaries inherited both physical and psychological traits of their own Primarchs, that when found were usually the perfect commanders for their own legions.
Are we going to ignore the fact that the Warhounds that became the World Eaters despised Angron as much as Angron despised them? And the fact that the general consensus in the Night Lords was that their own Primarchs sucked?
Those are explanations not relevant to the video.
And are we going to talk of the fact that removing the 2 of the Primarchs will go missing, and that we explored and explained them in the video of the Rangdan Xenocide, counting them, plus Omegon, plus the Angel that was technically a prototype Primarch, there are 22 Primarchs in total?
We are trying to keep things simple for new people in this video, Pio.
If I must suffer the burden of this knowledge, they shall too.
The legions will quickly become the pivotal force in the expansion of human territory around the galaxy.
Just a second. And the people who wants to date, I've told them he needs a break, but they just say, but he's cute, and date him anyways. And I'm gonna be really, really messed up if his current girlfriend kills herself because of him. That is really messed up. God damn. Damn you, Pio. Ah, shut up. You like it, Iron. But is in chat right now like that one gif of a black kid holding a cup confused? Maybe. In my opinion, relationship is about sacrifice. You win some, you lose some, and hopefully you will find the person that will support you no matter what. And it's true. Suddenly Portal appears. I'm back. Welcome back.
Their numbers swelling from a few hundred marines to tens of thousands as the decades of endless war went on, reuniting with their Primarchs as they were rediscovered. Some a perfect fit for their own sons, like the case of Vulcan and the Salamanders. Some needing their Primarchs to intervene to change the ways of their warriors, like in the case of the Revenant Legion and Sanguinius, that after being reunited with them found himself surrounded by crazed and bloody berserkers that didn't match him in the slightest, and influencing them to change their ways to make them noble warriors that he will proudly call sons, renaming them as the Blood Angels. But now that we know the general historical background of the Astartes, because trust me, I gave only the extremely condensed rundown of their history and the events surrounding their creation, the important question arises: what exactly is a Space Marine? And
Stop scaring the hoes! Though those that aren't scared away might be new initiates. Never mind, Pio! Scare away! What a horrible boyfriend. Yeah. It is like that.
Now is one created. Now, as I already explained, the Legionis Astartes, or the Space Marines in more colloquial language, are transhuman super soldiers. But now we will talk about what makes them so in detail. And for that, we have to make two important distinctions that you have to keep in mind. We are going to talk first of the Astartes that form the legions, and move afterwards to those that now form the chapters of Space Marines, as they are two different things. And also that we will talk first of the firstborn breed of Astartes, and then of the Primaris breed of Astartes, as they too are different things. Hope everything is clear, let's start. A Space Marine of the Astartes is transformed from a human into a super soldier by a threefold process of genetic manipulation, surgical augmentation, and psycho-conditioning that takes place over a number of years, and during the course of the chosen subject's adolescence. So yes, you heard me right. The Space Marines recruit from young boys or teens to create their super soldiers. That the process is conducted while the subject body is undergoing maturation represents the highest chance of survivability and lowest chance of tissue rejection for the new organs that will be implanted in his body. And while at least partial enhancements with adult humans was an option, and it was actually attempted and completed on a number of subjects, namely the adoptive father of Primarch Lionel Johnson, Luther of Caliban, it is extremely dangerous and often unpredictable in results. The process by which Space Marines are created relies inherently on the hormonal and biological makeup of the human male. Feel free to quote me on that. The Horus Heresy, Book 1 Betrayal, page 28. Meaning that only males can be subjected to the transformation, and in practice, only a small percentage of potential candidates will for one reason or another be regarded as suitable either because of genetics, environmental, or psychological factors. The process of augmentation sees 19 additional organs being implanted into their bodies as the subject's body matures. These 19 organs are implanted in the same order I will explain them in, and they all have specific functions in the body of a Space Marine. The first organ to be implanted in the body of an aspirant is a secondary heart. It helps regulating the blood supply and enhances the cardiovascular performance. Space Marines are huge. To keep their organism optimal, they need an augmented blood flow. It is a self-sufficient implant that also helps the Marine survive in case his other heart is damaged or destroyed, and to help oxygen intake in low oxygen environments. The second organ to be implanted is the osmodula. This is what boosts the size and strength of the skeleton of a Marine. It is what gives them their stature and physique. It is a small and complex tubular organ that secretes hormones that affect the ossification of the skeleton and encourages the forming of bone growths to absorb ceramic-based chemicals that are laced into a Marine's diet. 2 years after this organ is implanted, the long bones of the subject will have increased in size and strength, and the rib cage will have been fused into a solid and bulletproof mass of interlocking plates. The third organ that will be implanted is the biscopea, similar to the osmodula in function, but for the muscle growth of a Space Marine. It is a small circular organ that is inserted into the chest cavity and releases hormones that vastly increase muscle growth throughout the entirety of the body of the subject, and it also serves to form the hormonal basis for all other implants. Now, keep in mind that it is here the firstborn and primaries deviate in their implantation processes. Between phase 3 and 4 of implantation, we will continue as normal for now for a firstborn, and explain the difference later, but keep in mind that this is where the differences begin.
Also, if you want to know in detail what a Primaris is, check out our video titled The Primaris Mistake. We explain it there.
The fourth organ to be implanted is the amastramen. This organ enhances the blood composition and efficiency of a Space Marine. It is implanted into the main circulatory system, and this tiny implant not only increases the hemoglobin content of the subject's blood, making it more efficient at carrying oxygen around the body, but it also makes the blood of a Marine a bright red, and serves to monitor and control the functionality of the osmodula and biscopea. The fifth is the Lara mens organ. This organ enhances the growth of scar tissue over wounds, making Marines heal almost instantly from minor wounds. It is a liver-shaped organ about the size of a golf ball. It is placed within the chest cavity and connected to the circulatory system. The cells this organ produces are released into the bloodstream if the recipient is wounded. They attach themselves to the white blood cells in the blood and are carried to the site of the wound, where on contact with air they form a near-instant patch of scar tissue, acting like platelets, but better.
Wait, then why the minor wounds Kalb-Kun was suffering during the duel against Lufturen were not healing?
There is a reason, and I am investigating it. We might use it as a joke, but like when I covered the missing Primarchs, I noticed something, and I am investigating it. So an epilogue to the Badab War is entirely possible if I find something out. The sixth organ implanted into the body of a Marine is the catalepsia node. It is an organ implanted into the back of the brain. It is
This is what became Butt Up War Part 5. I gotta binge the Butt Up Wars too, man. But I am not that deep into it yet. We're still I'm still only getting my foundation in knowledge. Come on. At least only males for now. We can't let the girls in. No girls allowed. If they wanna paint us as little boys that have a boys club, then so be it. If they really want us to be that, we'll be that. I don't care. No girls around. Fuck them.
And it influences the circadian rhythms of sleep and the body's response to sleep deprivation. To put it in technical terms, it permits vestigial awareness of surroundings while resting, and facilitates hypnoconditioning, which commences after this point.
And for us people that speak normal English with an Italian accent?
If the Marine is deprived of sleep, the catalepsia node cuts in and allows a Marine to sleep and remain awake at the same time. Switching off...
Kinda like, not even me. Again, I have the same stance as Pontius does in this case. Anyone who genuinely wants to be part of a hobby and not change it for maybe I'll like it later is respected, is to be respected, and will be respected by those that genuinely like the hobby. I like introducing my hobbies to other people who I genuinely think are going to enjoy it. I've already converted a few people to anime, and I am enjoying that. I am enjoying playing with them. Back when Destiny was still good, Destiny 2, for example, I converted Frosty to be a hardcore player alongside me. And he enjoyed the game until the game got fucked because the writing was shit, the community manager wasn't part anymore, and they lost connection to the community and what the community actually wanted. Destiny has lore, no gameplay. But it does have lore as well. And the lore nowadays is fucking shit. They bring back characters just to kill them off again. They're literally doing what Star Wars is doing right now. Oh my god. I hate it. When they killed Cade 6, my favorite character in all of Destiny, I was destroyed. However, he went out in a bang. He did everything he would have done. The character was written perfectly. The pain everyone felt afterwards was a aftershock for everyone who genuinely paid attention. I loved every single second of it. Some of the gods used that to their advantage and like played with his voice and with our memories of him. It was amazing. Yet at the end of the day, they brought him back. I was happy, but they killed him again in a really dumb way. Can you like play Terraria with me? Maybe, we'll see. Someday maybe, but not in the near future. Miss the old game? Yeah.
Areas of his brain sequentially. It doesn't replace sleep.
Well, I gotta go for now and down some stairs. Hope I don't fall, because I still can't fucking walk stairs. Yeah. But, hold on. What I was original thought about what it reminded me of, like dolphins. Dolphins have like split brains where one brain is active and the other one sleeps while they're going long distances. Is something similar happening with the Space Marines with that organ?
The same time, switching off areas of his brain sequentially. It doesn't replace sleep, but it can work as an alternative while on battlefields, as the Marines can't be taken by surprise as they are aware of their surroundings while resting. This means that Marines don't need more than 4 hours of sleep a day and can go even 2 weeks without sleeping with no problems. Be mindful though.
What's your favorite anime? Bleach, probably. I still haven't made a complete list where I am completely sure. If you ask me for my top 5, it's gonna be a little different each time because I remember and not remember stuff. But yeah, it's probably be Bleach. Yep. Imagine liking anime. Imagine being gay and still not coming out of the closet. And hello, Flash! Hi!
That there were campaigns where Marines went months without true sleep using this state, and it ended up degrading their mental sanity after a while, so it can't be used too extensively. The seventh organ implanted is the preomnor. It is an organ that identifies and neutralizes organic poisons. It is pretty much a pre-stomach that neutralizes poisonous and indigestible foods. No digestion takes place in it, as it acts more like a decontamination chamber placed before the real stomach.
Damn,
and it can be isolated by the marine in case they ingest or are forced to ingest something extremely dangerous that even the preomnor can't neutralize. The eighth organ instead is called the homophagea. This organ absorbs substrata neural memetics through digestion of genetic material. For normal people, it means that this organ allows the marines to learn by eating. It is situated in the spinal cord, but it is actually part of the brain. The organ absorbs the genetic material consumed by the marine, and it then transmits the gained information to the brain of the marine as a set of memories and experiences, letting them learn from enemies they have slain or fauna they have killed on a planet on how to survive on it. The ninth organ is the multilung.
Holy
Not
shit!
really an original name for it. It is a third additional lung implanted and connected to the respiratory system of a space marine, and it helps when breathing in low oxygen environments or even toxic atmospheres.
Well, it also helps their base body because even if the lungs are very big, because of the mass of the Space Marine body, it needs more oxygen to sustain itself. So the third lung actually has more than just that use. That's just biology, though. I know that specifically because there is a reason why I'm gonna go so off the story that we're listening to right now. This has to do with fucking Godzilla, because it is explained why Godzilla cannot exist with normal lungs. There is a reason why he lives off of nuclear radiation, because that's the only energy source that can sustain his body. Oxygen is simply not enough. He would break apart on an anatomical level, or, you know, just degrade, because the oxygen is just not enough. There's not enough oxygen on Earth to sustain him. Which I think is really, really interesting. And I think the same concept applies here, just they're not big enough for that to be the case. The third lung is enough for them. True Godzilla needs the rads. Exactly. He lives off of radiation because that's the only energy source that can sustain his body mass. I thought that was a very genius way to describe him. This is, however, specifically with Shin Godzilla, the Godzilla that evolves continuously. Very terrifying being, by the way. Very terrifying. Because he has displayed one of the fastest evolutionary traits imaginable. He went from spewing fire to a laser that can demolish anything in his path within minutes. That is terrifying evolution speed, by the way. Alright, let's continue.
Or even underwater. The natural lungs can be closed off by a sphincter muscle associated with the multilung, and the implanted organ takes over the entirety of the breathing operations, as the lung itself is engineered to be an extremely efficient toxin dispersal system. The
Gotta fuck off and sleep. Have fun, take care, and goodbye, monkey! Have a nice sleep. Sweet dreams.
Instead is the oculobe. It is an implant that allows technical enhancement to optical growth. It is situated at the base of the brain and provides hormonal and genetic stimuli.
What does it do?
The implant instead is the oculobe. It is an implant that allows technical enhancement to optical growth. It is situated at the base of the brain and provides hormonal and genetic stimuli which enable a marine's eye to respond to optic therapy, permitting the apothecaries, that are the doctors and field medics of the marines, to make adjustments to the growth pattern of the eye and the light-receptive retinal cells. This means that space marines have far superior vision to normal humans and can see in low light conditions as well as in daylight.
technically humans can see in low light conditions too. However, humans just need multiple minutes, if not, if not tens of minutes, to adapt to the current dark. There still needs to be a certain amount of light in the area for it to be the case. They can't see in total darkness at all. However, as long as there's a little light, they can see. Just with adjustments. That's where pirates come in are very important, actually, because the reason why pirates usually kept one of their eyes shut with an eye patch is not because it was injured or gone or anything. It's because in the bow of the ship where the cannons and their storage was, they needed to be able to see while on the sea, right? And they wore the eye patch because the eye would already be adjusted to the dark, and it would put the eye patch up to be able to see underground in the ship, in the bow of the ship. Which is very interesting, I thought. Pirates used eye patches for a practical use. It was a practical thing, which is, very, very cool.
The 11th organ implanted is the Lyman's ear. It is an organ which primary function is filtering background noise and improving the balance of a marine for space and zero-gravity combat. This implant also makes space marines immune to dizziness or motion sickness, other than consciously filter out and enhance certain sounds. These ears are external organs that replace a marine's original ears, and are indistinguishable from normal human ears. The 12th organ implanted is instead the Susan membrane, also known as the hibernator implant. It is an organ that allows survival and recovery from trauma through suspended animation. It is implanted above the brain, and the membrane eventually merges with the entire brain of the subject. A space marine must be trained in its use, and they can activate the implant to enter a state of suspended animation as a reaction to extreme trauma, keeping a marine alive even for years after suffering terrible or even mortal wounds. Only the appropriate chemical therapy or autosuggestion from the marine can revive a subject from this state. The 13th instead is the melanochrome. It is an organ that monitors radiation and adjusts the blood composition and skin pigmentation accordingly. It pretty much controls the melanin in the skin of a space marine, darkening their skin when exposed to high levels of sunlight to protect it.
I see! That's why the salamanders are so dark. It's not just the radiation waves coming from the sun on their home planet. It's also because of the organ they have. And technically, any space marine could be the same skin color, right? The red eyes, however, is from the radiation from the sun, if I remember right. I could be wrong again. But yeah, so that's the reason why the salamanders. Okay. Well, of course, it is in reaction to the sun, but still.
Other than protecting from other forms of radiation.
Wait, then why are the salamanders always charcoal black?
It is a mutation caused by their planet of origin. Primal
so it's
Vulcan
both.
landed on Nocturne, a volcanic world situated in front of a violent sun that emits a very strong and unique radiation, meaning that everybody, Vulcan included, living on the planet develop a charcoal black skin to protect themselves from the conditions they lived in. And as all salamanders are recruited from Nocturne from the moment it was rediscovered, the organ is pretty much useless for them, as the organ adapts to the mutation of the people originating there and keeps their skin charcoal black, other than making them develop glowing red eyes.
So the organs can't influence the human body after a certain threshold. Good to know.
Okay, so I was wrong. It's not their organ that made them like that. It is indeed the radiation of the sun, and they just adapted to the radiation. Salamander fans, fan waves, and considered the best boys. Yeah. I think a lot of people in chat wouldn't mind to have that. What? Senator Armstrong, Huh? Oh, because of glowing. No,
And
I get
instead
it.
is the oolitic kidney. an organ that facilitates blood filtration and detoxification, other than neutralizing inorganic toxins. It works in conjunction with the secondary heart, and this implant allows space marines to filter their blood very quickly, rendering them immune to most poisons. This comes with a price though, as it will render the space marine unconscious while his blood is being circulated at high speed. While not in function, this organ monitors the entire circulatory system and allows the other organs to
Yes, it can absorb more heat. That is true, but that is a protective measure because, you know, it absorbs more and has a higher threshold for it. The charcoal black skin of the salamanders is a mutation that is probably more than just the black skin we know on normal humans that just have a high lignin ratio. They actually keep in contact with their families and people of their world and try to not be assholes to regular humans and save them. Yeah, but they're all the more aggressive to Xenos, and I like that. Yeah.
function effectively. The 15th organ implanted is the neuroglottis, an organ that lets Marines analyze harmful food by taste, to the point that the Marines can identify many common chemicals in the food by taste alone. And they can even track targets with it through taste, through their respiratory system using it. The 16th organ is the mucranoid. It is an organ that secretes oil over the skin to protect against hazardous conditions, such as extreme heat and violent cold. It is activated through their sweat, and it makes them sweat a substance that coats the skin to protect it, to the point that it can offer some protection for a marine in the vacuum of space. But it can be activated only by outside treatment that is common when space marines are expected to fight in a vacuum. The 17th instead is the Becher's gland. It gives space marines the ability to salivate a corrosive poison. It consists of two identical glands, implanted either into the lower lip, alongside the salivary glands, or into the hard palate, and they work in a similar way to poison glands of venomous reptiles, synthesizing and storing a deadly poison, which marines themselves are immune to. This allows marines to spit.
Why do you have a Dom and Mommy tag? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Oh my, I didn't know a lot of Space Marine autonomy. Yeah, it's actually really... Okay, okay, I might be gay. Well, we've been telling you.
A blinding contact poison, and the poison is also corrosive and can even burn through strong metals if given enough time. It is an organ that, at least in my interpretation, is given to a marine in case of capture by an enemy, to help them in their escape in case they are disarmed. And now we come to the last and most important organs of both Firstborn and Primaris Marines. The 18th organs are the progenoid glands. These organs collect and mature genetic material from the marine into gene seed for replication in subsequent generations of space marines. They are two glands, situated one in the neck and the other within the chest cavity. These glands represent the future of space marines, as the only way new gene seed can be produced is by reproducing it within the bodies of space marines themselves, meaning that this organ is what is used to create more space marines. This is this implant's only purpose, as the glands absorb genetic material from the other implanted organs, and when they have matured, each gland will have developed a single gene seed corresponding to each of the zygotes which have been implanted into the marine. The organs take correspondingly 5 years in the first case and 10 in the latter to mature into gene seed. The first one, usually the one in the neck, is harvested surgically when it has matured. The second one, situated in the chest, is harvested by apothecaries upon the death of a space marine, as it is the only way to harvest it without killing a living marine before his time on the battlefield, meaning that...
But I have a question. If we can, if we can, like, make these organs that make gene seeds, is there a reason why we can't implant multiple ones? Or does the Space Marine body just not have the capability of producing more than two? What reason is there for only two to be, you know? Who knows? I see, so it's not a deeply researched subject yet. I see. I was just curious. Oh, so they can generate the gene seeds themselves. Good to know. Oh no, we already learned about that in the last video. That's where we realized that the gene seeds are actually steadily breaking down because of time, and cells are breaking down throughout time. It will take a long time, but it means that Space Marines and their gene seeds in general have a time limit until they're gone completely. Only theoretically, right? But it is like that. That was so hot. I appreciate that a woman is saying that. Thank you very much.
Every marine created can respectively pave the way to the creation of 2 more.
Why must you lie to the newcomers?
Are you accusing me of lying on the lore?
Yes, everyone knows that gene seed is stored in the bolt.
Now that Pio has been punished, the last organ implanted into a marine and that completes the process of creation of an Astarte is the black carapace. It is an armored thorax with flexible sheath to protect major organs, and a neural integration film is also implanted.
Hold on. I wasn't paying attention because of chat for a second.
Now that Pio has been punished, the last organ implanted into a marine and that completes the process of creation of an Astarte is the black carapace. It is an armored thorax with flexible.
Wait, the black carapace is an organ implant? I didn't know. Every time I heard about the black carapace, I was a little confused. Like, whoa, what armor? No, the Space Marine armor is made out of metal and shit, right? So what is that? I'm amazed right now. I didn't know the black carapace was actually an organ and not, holy shit. Wait, so their ribs form a bulletproof armor already, and they implant another organ that is there for protection called the black carapace, which is basically just a flak vest. That is amazing. And also goes very deep into the... Holy shit. Think it's because of the limitations? Of course you can create a Space Marine for basically reproducing seed, but something tells me that is a cheat. It would also go against humanity's way of life, I believe. There might be a problem of strain in the Night Lord series. We saw what happened when the gene seeds is too condensed into the body of an Astartes. The leader of the body of an Astartes, hold on. The leader of Warbond started turning more into even better simulacrum of Conrad Curse. So it could be an idea of not many can handle having it to be collected and refined over such a long period of time. Huh. Fair. Of course, and they're...
flexible sheath to protect major organs. And a neural integration film is also implanted, eventually growing and hardening beneath the epidermal layer. This is the most distinctive implant of a Space Marine. It resembles a film of black plastic that is implanted directly beneath the skin of a Marine's torso in sheaths. It hardens on the outside and sends invasive neural bundles into the body of the Marine. After the organ has fully matured, the recipient is fitted with neural sensors and interface points that are cut into the surface of the carapace. This allows a Space Marine to interface directly with his power armor, using it and moving it as if it was a second skin, as the armor receives signals directly from the wearer's nervous system. Without this implant, many of the systems of a power armor won't function. This lets Marines also interface to vehicles using a spinal interface that is plugged directly into the power armor itself.
They have a whole system network that is basically a second nervous system that is operated manually instead of subconsciously. Holy fuck! I didn't expect the Space Marines to be made this well in function, in practice, right? Holy shit. He also picked up the mental issues of Conrad, so yeah. Oh my god. Also, Space Marine better than Psycho Warriors because SM can produce genoseeds themselves. Yeah, Space Marine. Oh,
19 organs are what forms a fully developed and battle-ready firstborn Space Marine. And now, let's talk about the 2.5 more organs that form what is instead a Primaris Space Marine. The difference between the two breeds might seem small, with just 2.5 organs more implanted during the phase of implantation between phase 3 and 4. But the differences they bring are pretty substantial. The first organ that is implanted into a Primaris Marine is known as the sinew coils. It is the only cybernetic implant that Space Marines receive. The sinews of a Space Marine, so tendons and ligaments, are coated and reinforced with durametallic coil cables that contract with incredible force, magnifying the subject's strength beyond that of a regular Space Marine, and giving them another layer of interior defense. The second organ Primaris receive is known as the Magnificat, also known as the Amplifier. It is a thumbnail-sized lobe inserted into the brain's core. The implant secretes hormones that increase the body's growth functions while also intensifying its advanced systems, especially for the osmodula and biscopea. This is the half organ I was referring to, as it is just the right half of an organ present in the Primarchs known as the Immortis, or the Godmaker. This means that this organ makes Marines even bigger and stronger than they were before, in fact making them tower over even the already towering height of a firstborn Marine. And the last organ Primaris have implanted is the Belisarian Furnace, also known as the Revitalizer. This is an organ that stays dormant and is connected to both the hearts of a Space Marine. In times of extreme stress or trauma, caused usually by grievous wounds, it expels self-manufactured chemicals similar to combat steams, that also aid in the regeneration of the Marine. After activating, this organ will fall dormant again, and it will take some time before it builds itself up for activation once more. And this is, at least biologically, what forms a firstborn Marine and a Primaris Marine. Firstborn Marines can be upgraded into Primaris by going through a rite called the Rubicon Primaris.
which is what Titus went through in Space Marine 2, right? At the beginning, when he was still in the Death Watch, he, you know, was gravely wounded in the fight, where he got picked up and reinstated into the Ultramarines as a Primaris, because to save his life, he went through the Rubicon Primaris, right? If I remember the story correctly, anyway, I thought he did get that. Do you even know what will await you in that case? That's the Emperor's creation. What did you expect? Nope. I thought so. And just a kiss from upcoming. I don't know how to feel about that.
Where they will be pretty much sliced open head to toe and the new organs implanted. It is a process with a low chance of success, but if they survive it, they will be upgraded from a firstborn to Primaris. Which is what happened to Demetrian Titus in the video game Space Marine 2, where he was
Yes, question that will be answered in half a minute! Dumbass award right here!
Prepare and to be saved, he was upgraded to a Primaris Space Marine.
Yep.
The wound was fatal. You survived only through the Rubicon surgery. We remade you. You are a Primaris.
But maybe you're seeing in the mind of the people that ask questions. Lies! You can just see the future, I know!
Mind though that while all of these implantations are ongoing, as they are gradual and don't happen all at once, initiate Space Marines will undergo chemical treatments, hypnotherapy, indoctrination, and physical training. All of this to produce a single transhuman super soldier of the Imperium of Men. The resultant Space Marine is in many ways no longer functionally human, but in others massively advantaged in terms of physical strength, durability, and reflexes over even the most physically adept unaugmented human warriors. Their bodies are also phenomenally efficient biological engines, resistant to disease, contamination, radiation, and poison. In addition, they are also all but impervious to the natural consequences of aging and cell decay, to the extent that other than by extreme physical trauma or incremental toxin and contaminate damage, they may in fact be functionally mortal, or at least have lifespans far beyond that of the human aspirants from which they were taken. Or this, at least, was true before the Horus Heresy.
What do you mean until
What?
the Horus Heresy?
I will gladly expand on that for both newcomers and veterans. The Horus Heresy is an event taking place at the end of the Great Crusade.
Hold on. I'm not asking what the Horus Heresy is, right? Even if Bricky is spreading a whole lot of false information, he did, cut on that, and I know what it is, just a little bit. Also, Pontius has talked about it a little bit in the previous videos we watched in my streams, so I know a little bit about it. But what do you mean the fundamental Primaris changed in Horus Heresy? What?
When humanity was closer to victory and conquering the galaxy than ever before. Horus Lupercal, Primarch of the Sons of Horus, previously known as the Luna Wolves, was declared by decree of the Emperor as War Master of the Imperium of Men, making him the supreme commander of all the other 17 legions of Space Marines the Imperium had. As only 18, and if we count Omegon, 19 of the Primarchs were ever found and reunited with their legion. To know more about the missing two, check our video on the Rangdan Xenocide. There is also to keep in mind that the legions by this point has swelled up to having hundreds of thousands of marines each, meaning that in total there were at least 2 million space marines fighting around the galaxy, every marine power armored and armed at the most basic with a bolter. Pretty much a gyrojet weapon that shoots rounds that use missile propellant as propulsion, are armor piercing, and have an explosive charge that activates when the bullet is inside you, to tear you to pieces from the inside out.
Just for when you want somebody extra dead.
But others had more devastating weapons at their disposal. All was going well, humanity was on the brink of winning. It was then that the 4 gods of chaos showed their hand. The gods of chaos are entities residing into the warp, a dimension formed of thoughts and emotions of living entities, that doesn't obey any laws that reality is constricted to. It is what the Imperium used and uses for faster than light travel, and it is the realm that psychers, like the Emperor of Mankind, tap in to use their devastating psychic powers. It is also a realm full of demons and inexorable horrors.
Technically, this is gonna make some Warhammer 40k fans mad, but technically, for those that don't understand this explanation, this just came to mind. If you imagine the Never in Minecraft and the overworld relationship, every block traveled in the Never is worth 8 blocks in the overworld. Traveling by Never is faster than by overworld. Same principle applies here. Just that the proportions are way more, way bigger. We have at least some time until Game Workshops reveal that the missing Primarchs are women. Let's cherish that time. Please don't. They were called sons from the start. Even I know that. Even if not for long. Not quite as consistently linked, but the rough analogy isn't wrong. I can grasp concepts, even if I don't know all the info. I can grasp concepts and apply them.
This realm is controlled by the 4 gods of chaos. Korn, the blood god. Zinch, the changer of ways, god of deceit and intrigue. Nargol, the god of decay. And Slanesh, the god of excess in all of its forms. At the beginning of the 31st millennium, the gods of chaos will formulate a plan to corrupt Horus and make him fall under their control. He in turn will formulate plans to corrupt or convince 8 of his brothers to join him, beginning the most devastating civil war the Imperium ever fought, named the Horus Heresy, after its war master and main perpetrator. 9 Primarchs and their legions will clash against another 9 Primarchs and their legions, millions of Space Marines and hundreds of Titan legions fighting each other on battlefields around the Imperium, with the goal of the traitor to kill the Emperor and conquer Terra, and the goal of the Loyalists to fight and kill the traitor Primarchs and their legions.
Holy.
I cannot save it from your failure, Father. Then let the galaxy.
Holy shit!
To have a direct citation to the brutality.
Man, Emperor's a genius after all. He created better warriors than God in our universe. At least they don't lose their mind when they see somewhat attractive woman. Oh, God. And guess what happened when I did try and walk? I fell twice. Maybe the first time was a sign to not walk. Hey. But I appreciate the effort. Nice try.
majority of it, during the Battle of Beta Garmon in the novel of Titan Death, it is pretty much described how by the end of the war for Beta Garmon, you could walk from one side to the other of the entire continent-sized battlefields while never directly touching the ground, just walking on the bodies of the fallen, and the fallen carcasses of destroyed titans of both sides. This is how big the Civil War was, with trillions perishing during the 9 years the war went on. By the end of the Horus Heresy, the Loyalists, if barely, had emerged victorious. The surviving Chaos Primarchs and their legions retreated from Terra, and over time were pushed back to the Eye of Terror, even if both sides suffered Primarchs as casualties, with the Primarchs of the Blood Angels and Iron Hands dying on the Loyalist side, namely Sanguinius and Ferrus Manus, and Conrad Kurz letting himself be killed by an Imperial assassin after the heresy, as he had envisioned. This would bring the Imperium on its knees, and the Space Marines were decimated to say the least, suffering hundreds of thousands of casualties for each legion during the war. Primarch Robute Gilliman will then formulate the Codex Astartes, a book of rules and regulations that he would impose on the other Primarchs. Now that the Emperor, being wounded in his final confrontation with Horus, was entombed in the Golden Throne, unable to govern the Imperium any longer. The Codex Astartes will break down the legions into individual chapters, breaking down single forces of hundreds of thousands of marines into independently commanded smaller forces of 1,000 marines each, limited to never be exceeded if not under specific conditions. It is during the millennia from these events that all Primarchs of the Loyalist side will disappear and leave the Imperium to self-govern, that problems with the Astartes will start to emerge.
Problems?
Mutations. Some of the Marine chapters over time started suffering gene seed degradation, causing higher numbers of failures in the creation of new Space Marines, or starting to mutate the Space Marines created with it, like organs stopping completely from functioning in some cases, or Marines mutating entirely in others. Like in the case of the Black Dragons, Salamander's successor that sport bony appendages and blades coming out from their bodies, that they even use as weapons at times.
And what caused this?
Instabilities of the gene seed, unseen flaws that started manifesting over time, degradation of the quality of the gene seed by replication.
Replication?
Think about it, Pio. The gene seed was pure in its nature when it was created, but the only way to make more gene seed was by harvesting it from the bodies of other marines.
Well, this is explainable by normal human biology as well. The reason why we age after we have stopped growing is because our genes are ever reproducing. But each copy, each reproduction is a inferior version of the previous one. And as we age, it damages itself further and further, which is basically the same as a mutation, kind of. Just that it's a faulty reproduction. It's why we age. It's why our skin breaks down at the end of our lifespan. It's why we sag, why our hair turns gray and stuff like that. It's the same with the gene seed. Each copy is not 100% the same as the last. It degrades over time. Of course, a way longer time than normal humans, but again, it degrades.
Means that the Marines that were created from the gene seed of those that died were copies on a genetical level. And like DNA, in genetics, nothing can replicate perfectly 100% of the time. There will always be some...
Explaining what's gonna be explained in a second. Oh my god, I did it again! I'm a fucking genius. So if we think about it more, Minecraft is basically 140k Steve Emperor trying to get into the web way. So, and kill the Ender Dragon, aka enemies of humanity. And mid-dinner I got a sharp sting in my chest. I felt like I was... What the fuck? Try resting again. They can turn into the werewolves. Isn't that an entirely different faction?
Some kind of minimal loss.
Wait, this means...
that the Space Marines that were created millennia after millennia from the gene seed of the Fallen are copies of copies of copies of copies. The gene seed used became so degraded that...
No, it's the Space Wolves. Yeah. Right? Hold on. The ones that can turn into wolves are a completely different religion than what we just talked about with the with the salamander sub thing. Yeah, right here. These were not the space. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Or what did you mean, Mad Chemist?
After 10,000 years from the Horus Heresy and into the 31st millennium, the Marines weren't even virtually mortal anymore. They will start to manifest signs of aging, like white hair, weakened physique, slow down reflexes, and reduced strength. It is one of the reasons, for example, that Dante, chapter master of the Blood Angels, and the oldest space marine still loyal to the Imperium outside of a dreadnought, with, in his current lore, more than 1,500 years of age, each of those years spent in war, looks like a frail old man, and keeps his helmet always on in the presence of his brother Marines, ashamed of the weakness age brings. This was partially fixed with the introduction of the Primaris at the end of the 31st millennium. Introduction that happened after the return of Primarch Gilliman, reawakened and finally partially cured from the demon poison that he contracted when he was wounded in a duel with Demon Primarch Fulgrim. The Primaris gene seed is purer, and this both helped to boost the creation of new space marines in the Imperium, and it also helped at least reduce many of the flaws many chapters of marines were suffering from. Some chapters had their gene seed so degraded they were even unable to reach their full strength of 1000 marines. For example, the Flash Terrors could reach a maximum of around 300 and 400 marines. Their gene seed so prone to failure they couldn't have an higher number.
Those are indeed very dire circumstances.
I'm sure we'll talk more about it in videos specifically targeted at those topics, but now we have covered both historical and biological sides of the real nature of a space marine. Just one side left to cover, and it is the most interesting if you ask me. And I want to start it by asking a simple question to both newcomers and veterans of the universe. Have you ever seen a space marine being grateful of being a space marine?
No. Because it's a duty. It's not a gift. Some may even see it as a punishment, but at the end of the day, your duty as a space marine is death. In death, we serve. I don't remember the full quote, but no. No, I have not. It's a responsibility and a sacrifice. They know what that waits them. And they run into battle, afraid for their life. But, you know, it is better to die for the Emperor than live for yourself. Because living for yourself has less meaning, less future, and anyone who you might love later on is doomed. It is a painful experience to have at a young age, but it is something I think a lot of people need in their life.
It is rare that I decide that a segment of a video needs a bit more seriousness than usual. If you watched our other videos, you know that we like to keep things light and funny. But I feel that this segment of the video needs seriousness just to represent the tragedy of the life of a human becoming a space marine. A thing that pains me is that whenever space marines are explained to newcomers, they are always regarded as these towering warriors full of pride and honor. These angels that fight for the Imperium and protect its people. War machines created for one thing: war. The most brutal wars the Imperium fights, in fact. During the Great Crusade, being recruited to become a space marine was a big honor. The Crusade was expanding human dominion around the galaxy. The Emperor himself was fighting with Astartes side by side to reunite the lost colonies of humanity and expand the territory our species covered among the stars. There is even marines we could consider alive, for how alive a dreadnought is at least, that fought side by side with the Emperor himself. We already talked about him, but Bjorn the Fell-Ended, the dreadnought of the former first chapter master of the Space Wolves, fought side by side with the Emperor, and even thought that the Emperor took a liking to him. Now, the Great Crusade lasted just 200 years. It was not that big of a period. But as I explained, the Space Marine legions swelled from a few hundreds marines each to tens of thousands, and eventually hundreds of thousands of marines by the end of the Crusade. The process so fast and perfected later on that a candidate could be trained and augmented into a marine in less than a year. To put into perspective what it was and is required to become a marine, let's start from the beginning, being chosen. Usually during the Great Crusade, the legions would recruit both from human colonies they had conquered or brought into compliance and under the banner of the Imperium, and on specific worlds assigned to them for recruiting. Their main source was usually the worlds where the Primarchs landed and were rediscovered. For example, the large majority of the Iron Warriors Legion, under Primarch Perturabo, were formed from boys coming from Olympia, the world they had landed on and on which he was the king. Thing that later on brought to a rebellion on the planet, but that is not important right now. Usually when being chosen, you will be scanned for genetical compatibility with the gene seed that needs implantation in your body. After that, you will be considered an aspirant, and taken to be trained and prepared for what was coming. After the boys that were chosen spent months being trained in the hardest of ways, psychologically indoctrinated, and educated on the ways of the legion they were to join, they will move on to the elimination tests. For many legions, there wasn't failing. They wanted only the best of the best, and once you were an initiate, you either made it, or you died trying. Some legions and chapters even pit their aspirants against one another. The main example I can bring, and that will be common in the video, is the trials set up by the Blood Angels for their initiates, where they will be divided in squads and told that the only way to advance was to kill and submit the opposite squad of initiates. Usually this will mean that from hundreds or even thousands of aspirants, a very small percentage would advance to the genetical augmentation step. And from
2%,
here...
again, 2% is a great result. It was above average. 2%. Upcoming, what the hell? Alright. Hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. I don't have a phrase that will show that, so here's random one. Remember that wolfmans are the genoseed, a bug that will turn an aspirant into the werewolf. I mean, they get wolf-like traits, but, you know.
Things only get worse. As you are trained and genetically augmented, you have already forfeited the life you were living on your own worlds. Marines can't reproduce by design, and they are created for one single reason: war. This means that a child has been taken from his planet, has left his family, friends, everything he knew to join a legion in a crusade of war around the galaxy, has been subjected already to violence of the worst kinds just to prove that he's worthy of being a space marine. And once augmented, you also sacrificed your own humanity all on the altar of fighting for the rest of your life. The only family you will ever know, your brothers in arms, and your gene father in your Primarch. Brothers in arms that you will inevitably see die on battlefields. Because trust an expert, there is no case of a marine that perished of old age. Their endless lives are spent on battlefields of planets they usually don't even care to know the name of. And from here on out, I will start using excerpts of books to prove that it isn't me thinking of their lives like this. It is them that talk of their lives like this.
Have you seen the projections? The fleet auguries, the number of vessels in the local systems already.
Yeah, I lost interest when the numbers became too high for me to count on my fingers.
Artarian snorted at his own weak jest.
We will fight and win, or fight and die. All that ever changes is the color of the sky we fight under, and the shade of the blood on our blades.
And I can already see the most expert of people watching this video recognizing that the clip is taken from a book taking place in the 41st millennium. But believe it or not, while many Marines were naive in the past during the Great Crusade, and thought that war would end at one point and the Space Marines would know an age of peace, others, like Sigismund of the Imperial Fists, had already foreseen what was to come for the Astartes.
I approve of your direction,
Sigismund told Loken at once.
I'm gratified. You are watching from the galleries?
Sigismund nodded.
Prosecute the foe. Get it over with. Get on. There is still so much to be done. We cannot afford delays or time wasting.
There are so many worlds still to be brought to compliance.
Loken agreed.
One day, we will rest at last.
No,
Sigismund replied bluntly.
The crusade will never end. Don't you know that?
Loken shook his head.
I wouldn't.
Not ever,
said Sigismund emphatically.
The more we spread, the more we find. World after world. New worlds to conquer. Space is limitless, and so is our appetite to master it.
I disagree,
Loken said.
War will end one day. A rule of peace will be established. That is the very purpose of our efforts.
Sigismund grinned.
Is it? Perhaps. I believe that we have set ourselves an unending task. The nature of mankind makes it so. There will always be another goal, another prospect.
Surely, brother, you can conceive of a time when all worlds have imported to one unity of imperial rule. Isn't that the dream we strive to realize?
Sigismund stared into Loken's face.
Brother Loken, I have heard much about you, all of it good. I had not imagined I would discover such naivety in you. We will spend our lives fighting to secure this Imperium, and then I fear we will spend the rest of our days fighting to keep it intact. There is such involving darkness amongst the stars. Even when the Imperium is complete, there will be no peace. We will be obliged to fight on to preserve what we have fought to establish. Peace is a vain wish. Our crusade may one day adopt another name, but it will never truly end. In the far future, there will be only war.
Now, I can already imagine the question in the mind of many newcomers to the universe that are realizing how much of a nightmare becoming a space marine truly is. Is this sacrifice truly necessary? Is it truly necessary to condemn what are pretty much overgrown child soldiers into a life of war and misery until a violent death on the battlefields takes them? Believe it or not, yes it is. Even with the casualties that the aspirants will take, Space Marines are warriors of a level that no human can ever equate to. Hundreds of Marines are enough to conquer entire star systems. Not alone, I give you that. Obviously they will need to be supported by Imperial Guard regiments and human fighters, but their strength is still something that is worth the sacrifice in suffering and human life.
We come to offer you our blades, our service, and the lives of over 900 warriors in the defense of your world. Kurov stood in silence. 900 Astartes. Entire star systems were conquered with a fraction of that.
900? What were they fucking fighting? $900 is an entire chapter. What the fuck were they fighting? Gazgul, you can't just name something. First, I'm bad with names. Second, I'm missing context. Third War for Armageddon. You will learn that in the Armageddon video. Yeah, alright. Understood, sir. Oh, God, an entire chapter. I just imagine the officer standing there, look up at the sky. 900, I am fucked.
These, though, are the best conditions under which Space Marines existed. After the Horus Heresy, where half of the legions with around 1 million Space Marines at their service turned with their Primarchs against the Emperor and the Imperium, the galaxy was lit aflame. Trillions perished in a giant war that spanned almost a decade, that saw gods of destruction clashing with one another, with the Imperium barely winning in the end. The Astartes had failed their task.
There were around 10,000 Space Marines deployed in that war alone. Almost a chapter, a company short, and that's not even the full might of the Black Templars. I said a full chapter because at that point in time, a full chapter is never a full 1,000 Space Marines. Or rarely ever. I am just aware that it's never going to be a full 1,000 Space Marines per chapter. And again, some chapters only have 300 to 400 Space Marines. I understand that. So I was just hop on night. No, not today.
Did I jump scare you?
Or not on
Yeah,
the stream anyway.
You coward.
God damn.
Hop on Night Train Cheer 1.
Suck a dick.
Had been the greatest enemy of humanity after the Imperium had formed. The Loyalist Marine legions were pretty much almost annihilated in the heresy, except for the Ultramarines that lost just half of their numbers. They had now learned of chaos, that the Primarchs and even themselves were corruptible, and now the legions were broken down into chapters of maximum 1,000 Marines each, exactly to avoid a situation like the Horus Heresy emerging again. The Primarchs had stopped trusting one another, as had the Astartes. From this period, things will change. New aspirants wouldn't just be made Marines as fast as possible, but would be relegated to a rank known as Scouts. This rank didn't exist in the beginning. The new Marines were augmented and then flanked to veterans to be trained by experience on the battlefields they fought on. Now, becoming a scout meant being human or mostly human for longer periods of time.
Hold on. This is something that our world lacks. True loyalty, purity, and strength, masculine qualities that gets wiped out in a world which is honestly kind of sad. True. So you know how the Codex puts restrictions on the size of chapter to only 1,000 battle brother? So that doesn't apply to Crusades, and the Black Templars are on a eternal crusade since the Iron Cage. Ah, so there's technically an unknown number of Black Templars because they are not restricted by the Codex? The same thing with the Silver Eagles, I believe, right? In my previous comments. Same thing with Sisters of Battle. They are servants of the Inquisition for a reason. They are devout and loyal to the point where they think they do something bad, they join Repentia. Damn. You keep putting me in horny jail? For good reason, I imagine. I'll give people a sneak peek after this video on something.
You fought and helped.
They rules lawyered themselves into near legion size just to spite Gilliman. What?
Your chapter,
That's
usually in
funny.
covert operations on battlefields. You could die fighting for a chapter while still not being even considered fully one of them. While many things changed as the chapter of Marines, 1,000 of them existing now, started developing their own cultures and rights, Marines kept getting corrupted by chaos, going renegade. General mistrust between chapters of Marine forces became normalcy, and with good reason, as falling to chaos was just a moment of weakness away. With no Primarchs left to command them after all the Loyalists once disappeared or died, the Marines were left without guidance. Many will stick to the teaching of their forefathers, like the Salamanders that are objectively the most caring of Marines regarding human life, as they have been taught by their Primarch Vulcan.
And only human life.
Or the Blood Angels, that stick with the teachings of honor and sacrifice taught to them by their Primarch Sanguinius. Others instead slid into not even caring for the humans they defended, like the Black Templars, or the Marines Malevolent, or even a first founding chapter like the Iron Hands. Their duty to kill the enemies of the Imperium, and vengeance against the traitorous dogs that have brought the Imperium into a dark age.
But it needs all of them.
We are the obvious choice to command the Astartes elements in the orbital battles.
I was wrong. I will not die in futility on this world.
High Marshal, we can slaughter the Greenskin Tyrant before he even sets foot on the world below us. I have already spoken with the other Marshals, my brother. We must leave a contingent on the surface to defend one of the Hive cities that yet remains ungarrisoned by Astartes.
That is not our duty, my liege.
And yet, a commander must remain.
Don't do this.
It is already done.
No!
This is not the time. The decision is made, Grimaldus. I know you as I knew Mordred. You will not refuse this honor.
I would burst the great enemy's black heart in my hand and cast his blasphemous flagship to the surface of Armageddon, wreathed in holy fire. Do not leave me here, Helbrecht.
Damn.
Do not deny me this glory.
You will not refuse this honor. Wait, brother.
Space Marines in general will be very rare sights in the Imperium of Men. The average Imperial citizen will go their entire lives without as much as seeing a Marine in the flesh. They would only hear of the Angels of Death in scripture from the Imperial Church and the retelling of great battles taught to them to learn the history of the Imperium. This will bring Space Marines at large to be considered by humans as almost mythical figures. Real angels.
Imagine just being a normal soldier seeing a entire platoon, if not an armada, slaughtered by the enemy because of the gene stealers or whatever, and you see 3 space marines, the angels of the Emperor, walking past you. What kind of morale boost is that? I imagine a huge one. Especially since I just learned that most people will never see one. Or rarely ever hear something, and then you hear campfire stories like while surviving out on a fucking planet about one guy in the platoon having seen one. And then in movie fashion, on your way to death, you see one run past you, destroy a tank with a shoulder charge, and god damn. You're not to have over 1,000 battle, brother, Sigismund. The spacebook says nothing about recruitment restrictions during Crusades, Blueberry boy. Marine Malevolent is better than Black Salamanders, at least Ark said so. I don't care. Oh, it's not that bad then. Only for of them, it's okay. I don't know if Space Marines can call themselves Angels of the Emperor because there are real Angels of the Emperor. I know, but they are considered angels, you know? There is the Blood Angels, of course, there are official titled angels, but to a normal human, any Astartes are considered angels. I believe, anyway. The myth surrounding them would also morally boost any army, too. Which morale is a big factor in war as well.
Angels created from the Emperor that would appear at the time of need to fix things and slay the enemies of mankind. But for Marines themselves, the perspective is completely different. We get a glimpse of this in the Book of Rings world, where the captain of a company of Marines is reaching a knife city of their own home planet to prepare to defend it by an orc invasion that was arriving to the planet.
Looking down from the cupola, his gaze passed over a gaggle of well-dressed children practically screaming with delight as the ground beneath their feet shuddered and shook. Others waved frantically from the shoulders of their fathers, desperate to be acknowledged by the armored giants they recognized from their storybooks and history lessons. Some, particularly the youngest, were terrified beyond words. Grimm saw a good many take refuge in the fabric of their mother's skirts, leaving little smears of nasal mucus there. A tiny malnourished girl, her orange rags marking her as an orphan from one of the city's many workhouses, gazed up at Grimm with wide blue eyes. She didn't scream or shout, neither did she smile or even cry. She simply gave him the smallest and shyest of waves. Grimm raised his own gauntleted hand, just a fraction, and returned the greeting. Without taking his eyes from the road straight ahead, Captain Alves barked, "Don't encourage them!" Nothing escaped his notice. "My apologies, Lord," said Grimm. "I don't care if the 12 Lords of Terror are down there. Acknowledge no one. We're not here to entertain these fools." "As you say, of course." "And they are fools, Huron," Alves went on. "Just look at them. So blindly, happily ignorant. Not one of them, not a single blasted one, judging by the gormless smiles on their faces, has stopped for a second to question why we're here. None have considered for even a moment that the presence of so many space marines must surely presage some terrible danger. Dorn alone knows what they think we're doing here." Grimm couldn't argue with that. They will think of it, sooner or later, he thought. And then we'll have a panic on our hands. 200 million people on this world. Yeah. 200 million lives in the balance. It's seen what the orcs did to the helpless. It's seen the horrors they perpetrated. Thinking of this, he turned his eyes to look for the workhouse Hofen again. But someone had shoved her to the rear, and she had disappeared behind a dense forest of adult legs. An image appeared in his mind, and his brow furrowed in furious denial. He gritted his teeth. In the image he saw the girl looking at him again, but her blue eyes were lifeless. Her blonde hair burned as he watched. He saw her flesh crisping and realized she had been spitted. She was being cooked over an open fire. He saw a massive orc, a black-skinned warboss of prodigious size, pull the spit from the flames and sink his tusks into the meat, devouring her as if she were little more than a snack. It was no idle daydream. Grim had seen the evidence of such abominable crimes all too often on other orc-blighted worlds. In Dawn's name, he growled quietly. Not here. Not while I draw breath.
Space Marines know what they are full well. They are necessary monsters created by the Imperium of Man and the Emperor to try and protect humanity. But they too know that in the long run, they weren't or are enough.
My hands curl into fists. I am strong, born only to slay for the Emperor and the Imperium. I am pure, wearing the blackest of the black, trained to serve as a spiritual guide as well as a war leader. I am wrath incarnate, living only to kill until finally killed.
Bam.
I am a weapon in the eternal crusade to forge humanity's mastership with the stars. Its strength, purity, and wrath will not be enough.
And if this wasn't bad enough, Marines commonly lose memories of when they were human, or even memories of the people they held dear before they became Astartes. As we can see with Grimaldus himself during the Battle of Elsrich, where he will comment,
Humans, they are a mystery to me.
and if you think that is an isolated case, we can see it again in the Book of Dante, written by Guy Haley, when one of the teachers of the young Dante, as he ascended to the position of scout, was a retired space marine, composed mostly by bionics so much he was wounded in battle. And he had the task of teaching the new scouts the arts, as all Blood Angels are renowned to be stunning artists of various kinds. They would have this exchange.
Neophyte Dante! Dante looked up. He had become so mired in self-reflection that Caphael had come up on him unawares. Caphael spoke over the clatter of tools in the workroom. Why do you sit inactive? I played a statue to honor my father, but as I draw, I realized that the work will far surpass his own, and this seems arrogant, as if I will deliberately belittle him. You cannot belittle Sanguinius, said Caphael. I meant my other father. You have grown beyond him and all other mortals, said Caphael. It does not mean I love him less. You must put him from your mind. Caphael rested his calloused hand on Dante's shoulder. You have a new father now. The memory of your life before will fade in time. Will I forget? Some do. Some forget everything. Some remember. If you held your father in such high regard, you will never forget him entirely. Do you remember? Asked Dante. Caphael's face softened to near humanity. No, neophyte. I can recall nothing from before my insanguination. I do not remember remembering. To my mind, I've always been a blood angel. Now, let's have a look at your sketches. You are to attempt a bronze? Yes, my lord. It seemed fitting. Although I would like to make the wings from ribbon if I can get it to look right. That's what my father used. When I was a child, I used to like the way they fluttered in the wind. It would be good to capture that somehow.
But eventually, for how much he tried, even Dante will forget his name as a human, and all the people he cared for.
Dante's soul withered in him. Another choice between two evils. He had thought of his earlier years full of hard-won victories. The difficulties of those times were nothing compared to the dilemmas that tormented him daily. As he read and reread the missive, his composure broke. Dante howled in fury, ran at the wall and slammed his perfect golden fist into the mosaic there, destroying a portion of ancient artwork a yard square and denting the metal beneath. Shot the tesseract tinkled to the floor. The doors burst inwards. A pair of Dante's sanguinary guards came in, weapons raised. Arafeo came after them. My lord, said Arafeo. Commander, asked one of the sanguinary guards. Dante swayed back from the wall, his hands up. It is nothing, brother Dontorial. Return to your post. As you commanded. The sanguinary guards scanned the room a last time and left. Arafeo did not leave, but approached carefully. What is it, my lord? Dire news from Astorath. A new threat as bad as the Devourer. Dante's armor felt unbearably claustrophobic, and he sank into a crouch. He had a fleeting memory of a boy who had sat like that habitually, but he could not remember his name. Will you convene your brothers, my lord? You have but to ask, and I shall pass on your summons. Behind Sanguinius' mask, Dante closed his eyes and bowed his head in reflection. The purring whine of his armor systems irritated him. He longed for the dry silences of Baal. I must think on this a while. I shall speak with them after we are free of the Aegis. We can do nothing for the time being but fret at the problem, and I need to consider this carefully before I make any decisions.
Dante is the oldest space marine currently alive and outside.
God damn. Also, hold on. I gotta... just a second. I gotta catch up on certain chats. Oh, it's not they inflict another effect on the enemy. Transhuman shock. The brain just can't handle the fact that they move so fast and are so large. It's like, oh god, what the fuck? Oh god, well, how are they that fast? And some YouTube chats. Newman? Done? Hello? Welcome? No, just a second. Like how you as handsome as an angel. Upcoming just first thing over me. That is a new feeling I have unlocked, and I don't know how I like that. Hello, loading guy. Welcome back. The loading guy person is going forever. I'm changing my name to my real ID. Making a new channel, but in my language, not in English, doing start roasting. Huh. Damn, can you imagine how Space Marine think about average human beings? Not even Imperial Guard soldiers, but average human being, and what kind of emotions they feel? Pity, disgust, that kind of stuff, probably. So Newman is the new loading guy, hell yeah. Animation is not mine kind of thing. Good for you. Best of luck on your future endeavors then. Hope you will be happy. True. Welcome, Newman. Hope you will have a great time and future ahead of yourself.
Head of a dreadnought in the Imperium.
Back 10 seconds and...
That I'm being but threatened the problem. And I need to consider this carefully before I make any decisions.
Dante is the oldest space marine currently alive and outside of a dreadnought in the Imperium. It is no surprise you will forget, but it is a thing that weighed on his mind.
Sorry if it's too much. Oh, no, it's fine. You can do whatever you want in my chat as long as it doesn't get you banned from the platform or gets me banned. I cannot imagine that Western modern society surviving in that setting. They will be probably killed or fall into heresy. Probably. I'm awake? Welcome, sure. Huh. Did you have a bad sleep? Were you awake too late? Little bit of contempt and endless shame for seeing humans, who are their charges to protect, as burdens if they're particularly introspective. It is probably very infuriating to realize one thing's wrong too. So it's probably a whole lot of things mixed and mashed together of feelings.
Space Marines over time will grow to become so arrogant and detached from their own humanity, the same humanity they considered a weakness and the biggest opening of chaos to strike, that they will need to learn to be humble, and what it truly means to fight not only for your own honor and gratification.
You haven't slept well all week? Oh man, sorry to hear that.
But also to fight for the survival and benefit of humanity.
There is nothing to like in them. They wage war to defend, to preserve. Everything in their way is devoted to maintaining what humanity already has. I mean no offense to them as warriors, but drop-podding into the city purely to defend civilians? Madness!
Elsrich is a rampant example of this. Grimaldus arrived to defend Elsrich with his Black Templars, an arrogant reclusiarch that wanted only to find his honor in battle. Angered that he could not fight in space against the orcs side by side with his brothers. And seeing humans as lesser and weaker, almost a nuisance often throughout the book. But by the end of it, he had truly learned what it meant to be a space marine, and what a true space marine really stands for.
Very few left. There will be enough. Have faith in your brother's blades, Bayard. I have faith. I am sanguine with my fate, Chaplain. My rank is Reclusiarch. Use it. By your will, brother, of course. But we stand vigil over the city's death, with a handful of bleeding humans, Reclusiarch. I am sanguine, but I am also a realist. Have faith in the people of this city, Champion. Such condescension is beneath you. These people are fighting for more than their homes and lives. They are fighting for their ancestors' honor, on the holiest ground in the entire world. The survivors of this war across the globe will take heart from sacrifices made by the thousands destined to die here. Blood of Dawn, Bayard. The Imperium was born in moments such as this. My voice was one of the few that spoke against your ascension to Mordred's rank. I would have said the same in your place.
And by the end of the war,
Damn.
the last survivor of his own squad, having fought until the end with the human defenders to try and protect the city of Elsrich against a green sea of orcs, Grimaldus will come away having learned that honor doesn't come only from the blood you spill in battle, but from the
But
light
also
you
from
brought
the-
to the most obscure moments of the people you protect.
Yeah.
We are judged in life for the evil we destroy. It is a bleak truth that there is nothing but blood awaiting us in the spaces between the stars. But the Emperor sees all that transpires in his domain. And we are judged equally for the illumination we bring to the blackest nights. We are judged in life for those moments we spill light into the darkest reaches of his Imperium. Your world taught me this. Your world and the war that brought me here.
And to show you to what level being an Astarte truly is a sacrifice, and not the giant honor and great destiny that many think it is, I want to focus more on the character of Chapter Master Dante for a moment longer, to show you the perspective he has for the life he lives as a marine. Dante, with his more than 1,500 years of service, is by this point an old man, that has fought in every corner of the galaxy in countless wars. So many, in fact, he doesn't remember all of them. Dante is depressed. Dante also wants to die. He's not seeking death, don't get me wrong. He will not charge against an enemy gun just to end his own life. He wants to fall in battle honorably, being bested by an enemy. The amount of wars he has seen endless. The amount of people he saw die in battle even more endless. He feels that he has not made a difference in this galaxy. For every war that ends, 2 more start in its place. But he feels like he has earned his rest, and is just waiting to fall on a battlefield so that he can truly find peace. Dante also suffers from an identity crisis. The helmet he wears a death mask sculpted to the visage of Sanguinius, not only to hide his age in shame, but to bring hope to the battlefields he fights on. But this, over time, started making him question his own identity. Is he Dante, or is he Sanguinius? Is he, as a space marine, enough to bring hope to the hopeless, or he needs to be a facsimile of his Primarch, so that the poor people in the wars of the Imperium have a sliver of hope that they will live to see another day? This conflict will be resolved when he will face death during the Book of Devastation of Baal. Don't worry, it is not a spoiler, as he does not die there, but his character will finally reach a resolution to this conflict, as he readied himself and all the Marines left fighting at his side for one final charge in the hope of stopping a threat that will consume endless more lives if not stopped.
For millennium, I have worn this mask. So long that mortal humans on 1,000 worlds equate Dante with Sanguinius. One has become the other. I have no need of a mask any longer. I need not wear our Lord's face. He is in here, in my heart. I reveal my face to you, long hidden for shame of the weakness age reveals. I shall wear this mask when I fight, in honor of our Lord. But I go into the final battle, not as a poor facsimile of our father, but as Commander Dante, son of Baal, son of the great angel, whose living body is the host of the Primarch. What say you, warriors of Baal? That we let slip the red thirst one final time and fly upon the wings of wrath with our Lord into battle. I commend you all, O ye mighty, to the protection of the great angel, for the Emperor, for Sanguinius. There is no more beauty to be had from life, so let us then seek a beautiful death.
But what if...
Holy shit, that gave me... Whoa, that's fucking cinema right there. Hello, Sakura! We're watching lore videos on Warhammer 40k. But we become oversaturated to the point that we cannot understand how someone can be happy in this setting. But put yourself at the place of guardsmen and ask yourself, what things will make you happy? For some, it's probably just a campfire that they can warm themselves on. or seeing the light of day when they survive the night, or even having a decent meal for once. Will probably mean happiness to most soldiers in Warhammer 40k. If we're talking guardsmen, for some, it's death. I think very few are greedy enough to lust after money or power, since the rank of a guardsman is not very high. Happiness could also be from encouragement or acknowledgement from your superior, or even, if you're lucky enough, from a Space Marine themselves, from a Emperor's Angel. Being acknowledged could also be the greatest happiness one's had in their life. The crazy part is him not falling into the Black Rage. Was he not the one that made all the his chapter snap out of the Black Rage? Was he not the one that helped them redefine what it means to be a Space Marine? A Blood Angel? Was he not the one? I thought that we saw the lore about that not a while ago.
If I told you that the same Marine that is preparing to die in battle in the defense of the Imperium, that embodies all the valors of a first founding chapter,
crazy.
and is regarded as the greatest son of his Primarch, and a warrior without any rival, also had this in his mind before this battle.
He stared through the glass, his lined face superimposed over Sanguinius's ageless mask of gold. The two were a near match, for Dante had taken after his sire closely during the Blood Change. He blinked as Sanguinius's golden mask never could.
No, that is Gabriel Seth. Ah, alright. My fault, man. In that case, my fault. I thought it was him, but I guess not. I was wrong, remembering wrongly.
The Primarch's mouth remained open in a howl of righteous fury. It was such a shame, Dante thought, that this most thoughtful and dutiful of the Emperor's sons should be remembered by his image of wrath. There were thousands of representations of Sanguinius throughout the Blood Angels' fleet and their fortress monastery on Baal. But this was the one most new, a roaring fury descending from the heavens to mete out death and spill blood. If only there was space for his Jane father's gentler nature to be celebrated. If only there were not such an endless need for battle. If Dante could have any wish granted, he would have chosen to be made obsolete by peace, to become a museum piece himself. He wished this not only for the sake of others, but also for himself. With peace will come rest from his labors. Peace will never come. War was without end. The only rest he would ever know would be death. That was how Artisan had said it all those years ago. That was what the sanguinary priests still said at the time of choosing. How bitter it was that he should come to know this better than any other. His fingers caressed the touchpad. The case opened, and his servants emerged from the shadows. He must become his Lord Sanguinius once again.
Being a Space Marine is a curse.
Damn.
To have your human form and human soul ripped from you to become a sentient weapon that will fight until it can't fight any longer. That will lose all of its human feelings and experiences in the process of fighting endless wars in the protection of the people of the Imperium. So to all the people that until now thought that being a Marine was an honor and a privilege, that fighting as one of the Imperium's Angels of Death was a life worth living, that dying in battle as your final fate was a worthy death, I want to ask, is it worth it to sacrifice everything that made you human to protect humanity?
Yes. Because you're not fighting just for yourself. You gave up humanity to protect the rest of humanity. It's in the sentence. You stripped yourself of every weakness imaginable, so you can stand strong even those that are fortunate enough to keep them. Well, it is not a privilege to be a space marine. It is a privilege to survive to become one. It's a grim future that awaits you as a space marine, but it's one that is worthy, I'd argue. I think Dante is a exception to the rule, but one that was necessary to show how hard of a life, how depressing, how taxing and costly it is to be a successful space marine. I don't measure success by survival, but by wars won and experience gained. I think Dante was a necessary step to show how dreadful the future of every single warrior will be. But a necessary sacrifice nonetheless. Damn. That's a deep fucking cut. Holy shit. Yeah. Pontius video. Worthy wanted that. Holy shit. Yeah. Check him out. For sure. Like, comment, and subscribe. For holy shit. Yeah, that robbed me of my words for a little bit.